Our distinguished presenter tonight is Wanda Colo, Director of Sustainable Operations and Construction Management at the zoo. Take it away, Wanda.
All right, thanks, Lisa. I'm gonna pull up my presentation here. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody tonight on this lovely evening that finally cooled off for us. So my role here at the zoo is it's two-parted. So I am the Director of Sustainable Operations, and so I work with departments across the zoo on various sustainability initiatives. And then I also work on construction project management in the architecture and planning department. But those two things do align, as we'll hear about tonight when we get into green building and various initiatives that have to do with our utility use and our water use throughout our campus. Let's see. So today I'll focus on a few of our sustainability areas that we're focusing on, where we're working on initiatives from our waste management and our recycling and reduction initiatives to energy use and our renewable energy, as well as water reduction and water use throughout our campus. And I'll also tell you guys about our just the initiatives where we engage our staff and our volunteers to do various volunteer efforts in the community as well as at the zoo, and green building projects and native landscaping. So any good, any good sustainability program is going to typically start with your recycling or your waste reduction initiatives. And that's how we started at the zoo. So back in the 80s, we started our recycling program that's been going strong for years. We have our bins that you see throughout the zoo where we are collecting, our typical types of materials like aluminum bottles, plastic bottles, things like that. But we also do a lot around other items that we recycle, like electronic waste and things like PVC recycling. We go through quite a bit of PVC at the zoo for various, for our water filtration, life support systems, as well as for enrichment and things like that. So again, recycling is one piece of it. Reduction is another piece of it. Compost is by far our largest amount that we divert from the landfill each year. So we have a lot of animals that eat a lot of food. And so we send over 2 million pounds per year to our partners at St. Louis Composting. We don't have an on-site composting facility or ability to process that waste on our campus, but we send it off to our third party, our partners at St. Louis Composting, where that material gets put into windrows and then becomes compost. So we send everything from our animal manure, as well as the bedding that we use in their habitats, landscape materials. So this is like trimmings from our trees and landscape waste. And all of that material does get turned into usable compost that you can actually buy, and you maybe already do buy from St. Louis Composting. Overall, we are right about 50%, a little over 50% that we're diverting from landfills on average. So we certainly have some room for improvement. And that's something that we are looking at improving over time. So again, things that we've, like our reduction efforts with our plastic bag, like eliminating plastic bags in our gift shops, and working to reduce the amount of waste that's actually coming onto our campus is a big effort that we're trying to do to reduce that overall amount of waste that we're sending to landfill. As part of that, our food and beverage departments. So across our zoo campus, we have a lot of areas where you can get snacks and food while you're visiting the zoo. And we've worked really hard with our food and beverage team to reduce the amount of waste coming out of those restaurants and food locations. So several years ago, maybe it was 2014, I think, is when we first started our composting program in our restaurants. And we first started with just back of house material. So just our basically like the trimmings from the food that's being prepped so there was very little chance of contamination because it was our staff and it was only the organic material from fruits and vegetables and eggs and things like that. Later in 2014, we introduced the program, the front of house composting program and recycling in our restaurant. So we worked really hard with our team to essentially switch to mostly compostable products in our restaurants. So when you come to our restaurants, you will see the cups that you're being served in, the plates and utensils are compostable. I will say that since 2020, we've had some challenges with procuring specifically the utensils in the quantities that we need them that are compostable. So we've struggled a little bit with supply chain issues, as I'm sure others have. And that would be an interesting topic if anybody has any issues that they've run into on the call that they could share with us as far as, just supply chain that you've run into since COVID. And that would just be interesting to hear about. But we've also, so our composting program has been rolled out in both Lakeside and Café Kudu, which are our largest restaurants. And that material, so all of the service wares that are the compostable wares, as well as food that our customers or our guests are done with, can go into compost. And then we do have some plastic materials still. There's some cups and containers that are plastic that can be recycled. But for the most part, we've tried to eliminate as much as possible landfill-based or landfill-bound materials. We have some things like snack packaging that does still go into landfill at this point, and there may be ways that we can eliminate that or find TerraCycle or things like that in the future. Right now, we don't do that. Our recyclable or reusable sipper cup program has been popular for many years, and people actually do hang on to those cups. You see people come back year after year, so you pay for the cup once, and then at a larger retail value, I think it might be right around $10. But then when you come back for refills, it's $1. So it's a way for us to encourage guests to go with reusable materials. And our restaurants, so we did receive a grant from the St. Louis Jefferson Solid Waste Management District, which is a wonderful grant here locally that is available each year. And it really, for people that are, working in various businesses or at schools, if you're looking for an opportunity to improve your recycling or start a composting program, definitely look into that grant, because it is available each year. And they fund a lot of opportunities, from actually buying equipment to even providing staffing funding. So our Café Kudu and Lakeside are also certified by the Green Dining Alliance. And that is a program through the Earth Day 365 organization here in St. Louis. And they actually, it's a third-party program where they actually come out, they assess your your operations in the restaurants, from everything from your water use, your energy use, to what kind of food you're serving. And we've really benefited a lot from that program as well. We've been able to, over time, we've introduced more vegetarian options, vegan options in our restaurant, as well as just made tweaks and changes that basically help us to function in a more environmentally friendly way. And you can actually look up the Green Dining Alliance website and see other restaurants throughout St. Louis that are certified. So if you're looking for a green dining experience, that is a great way to find those restaurants. Lisa, are there any questions at this point, or any topics of note?
Nothing yet. And I don't know if anybody, we had this issue yesterday for some reason, but the chat was disabled when we signed in. I believe it should be enabled. I did what I did yesterday to re-enable the chat. So the chat should be good. And the Q&A is available, but we don't have anything just yet.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. So sustainable design and construction is another area where we've been focusing our efforts. So this is one of our LEED certified. So the U.S. Green Building Council has a third-party certification system for green buildings. And that's a very robust and prescriptive sort of way for design teams, the owner, contractors and construction teams to get on the same page about what defines a green building. And then within that system, you have choices in terms of, you know, what level you strive to. It goes from certified all the way to platinum. And the focus areas really are everything from the site itself to, again, energy and water use, daylighting, the well-being of the inside environment, so like the indoor air quality. And so this is our Orthwain Animal Nutrition Center, where all of our food comes in for the animals that we feed throughout the zoo. And it was built in 2007. You can see there's a 5,500 square foot roof, green roof on the top of the building, and that helps the building reduce energy use by insulating the building, the roof of the building. And it also serves as a way for rainwater to percolate and fall and be absorbed there, as well as it serves as a habitat for native wildlife. So you'll see birds and insects on top of that roof there. There's also native landscaping that's surrounding the building, as well as some demonstration gardens there in the front. So when those smaller patches there, the squares, are different demonstration gardens for that showcase what we provide to our animals, what different things that we grow on our campus to give to our animals for both food as well as enrichment. So things that might smell really good, like mint, or different types of herbs and things like that. So it's a great educational opportunity. But the building there is also reduces a lot of the potable water use was reduced by 51% in that building. Energy use, there's great daylighting in the building. In another photo here, as I keep going, you'll see some really the windows in there. A lot of time when you're in that building, you really don't, a lot of the time the lights aren't even on in there because the daylighting is so good. And then the white roof there that you see on a large portion of the roof as well is a great strategy to just, again, reduce energy use. It allows the sunlight to bounce back off the roof surface, so it's not absorbing that heat in the roof surface. One of our newer LEED certified buildings is Candy Crossing and Starbucks, and that's right in the center of the zoo in Chinook Family Plaza. So that building was built in 2018. And along with that, so adjacent to the building itself, we built a large canopy that's over the patio, right adjacent to the lakes that we have. And it is covered in solar panels. So that the panels there essentially offset the energy use in the building itself. The panels as well, or I'm sorry, the building itself, the gutters there are actually connected. They flow, instead of flowing into a sewer system, they flow directly into the lakes. So they help us add water into the lakes and add fresh rainwater there. And you could see the paving, the pervious paving also allows, as part of the stormwater management there, so that it allows rainwater to fall on that surface and percolate into the ground instead of just running off and going into the sewer system. So I mentioned that there's really great daylighting in our build in the Orth Main Animal Nutrition Center, but as you can see, that the great daylighting with the large glass, the many windows that we have, also reflects trees and other things really well. And we actually noticed this was one of the worst buildings that we had for bird collisions. So one of a major threat for birds worldwide is collisions with buildings or glass, because birds can't, they're not going to identify a window frame as a they don't associate that as being a hard surface, so that they don't see the actual glass the way we do. And so with this kind of a reflection, they might think that that's just, we can go right through that. And so we were having bird strikes there, and we have a really great protocol throughout the zoo to note, or basically it's a reporting protocol, so that if anyone does see a bird either fly into a window, or we find a bird that has already perished, that's flown into a window, that's reported to our bird department and our animal care staff, and we track that information so that we are able to address those problems. But the zoo back in 2000, and it's been many years, maybe 2009, 2010, we designed a glass application, so a striped pattern that we can apply to the problem areas that we find throughout the zoo. And so this was kind of the before and after photo of that particular building, but it works really well. It's got 3 different colors in the striping so that the birds can see it in various conditions, whether it's shady or sunny. And we found that is really the best. We tried different sort of applications of it horizontally and vertically to try what worked best. And we found that the vertical application does work the best. This is one of the first areas where we actually tested it. This is the Café Kudu, what used to be the Painted Giraffe Cafe. And so that location still has the horizontal and vertical stripes. But again, we learned that the vertical stripes really were the way to go across the board. And we did work with the American Bird Conservancy to actually take our design of the striped pattern, and they tested it. They're really the experts in testing different applications or products, window manufacturers that are trying to create bird safe materials. And our application did really well in their testing. So we know both anecdotally and scientifically that it works. So
sorry to interrupt. We had a really good question related to bird safe glass from Pat. So how many of the buildings at the zoo, if you know off the top of your head, how many buildings at the zoo now have bird safe glass? And are there any more in the works?
Great question. So we have, I'm trying to think, I don't have a number just off the top of my head, but I do know like we applied it to the administration building, facilities, management. There's several, one-off, like for example, I think at the vet hospital, there were really only a couple windows that were a problem we were finding that, I don't know why, because maybe the lighting was just so that that it disoriented birds.
Mhm.
So we've done some applications where we didn't do the whole entire building necessarily, but just problem spots.
Mhm.
I know recently we just finished an application at the birdhouse actually. So all around the birdhouse now we've got that application. And at, for example, Candy Crossing, so that Starbucks and where we sell our fudge there in the center of the zoo. So that location actually has little dots. And the reason you'll see, so it's just a different way to do bird safe glass. But one of the reasons there was, I think we were working with our retail team because they wanted to make sure that people could see, what we're what we're trying to show them that's inside the product that we're showing them. And so it was a little bit of like just a balancing act to make sure that you could see inside, but at the same time, it still is bird safe glass. And we worked with an installer that I couldn't tell you the name of the installer, but that actually came out and did those for us.
Yeah, and I noticed the dots at Cully, our polar bear, at his habitat. There's really big windows, and they put the dotted ones so that you can still see him, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh.
Yeah, and for example, like at the the old Tasmanian devil exhibit, and now now we have our macaws there. In the old children's zoo, Dinosaurus, that glass is embedded with a UV pattern that we had included this as a kind of a test. We wanted to test this product. Does it really work? And unfortunately, in this case, we did find that we were still having some problems. So we did also apply some of those dots there.
Mhm.
Because birds were still, for whatever reason, it just wasn't working as well as we had hoped. So, but that's an important thing to do, to sometimes try those innovations and see if it helps us. So, but in the same, like following the vein of bird safety, another area that we're really focusing on right now, and over the last few years, is to reduce light pollution across our campus. This is another huge threat for birds worldwide, and beyond birds too. So birds, migratory birds in particular, mostly travel at night, and they use the stars and the moon to orient themselves. When it's really bright in cities, that can be disorienting. And also when there's buildings with glass, that can lead to building or bird collisions with glass. And so what we've been doing is we've started doing nighttime assessments at the zoo to try to see where we might have areas of overlighting, or maybe lights that are too bright or shining upwards, that we can mitigate with timers or change the fixture altogether. Another issue with light pollution, kind of going back to the animals, is insects need the dark conditions as well for various things, like just avoiding predation as well as mating. Various amphibians need that biological regulation for, again, mating or doing different their biological actions. And so that also goes for humans as well. So, and something that we've really been looking at too is not just where we're maybe overlighting, or there's light spillage in areas that we just really are not, it's not the best use of light. We're also looking at the color temperature of our bulbs. So something that's really important for insects in particular is the blue colored light bulbs are more problematic for them, because they tend to draw them in, where they'll fly around the bulb. We've all seen this, where there's just a bunch of moths and other insects flying around a light bulb, and they exhaust themselves, and it's very detrimental to insects. And so going with warmer colors, so like a more yellow colored light bulb, is something else that we're also looking at on our campus. So 3000 Kelvin or less is what they say is best for reducing that issue. And we're also on the Mississippi River Flyway. So again, we have a lot of birds that come through, particularly in May. So like April and May, and then September and October, those are really the months that we want to be mindful of how our exterior lighting is, to make sure that we're not, again, disorienting birds while they're flying through at night. And interesting fact, but St. Louis is apparently the 5th most dangerous city for migrating birds. So it is, this is definitely an action that we can all take, homeowners, businesses alike. And as far as taking action, so again, it's really kind of following some of these best practices, which is only light what you need, right? That makes a lot of sense. Put things on timers. If you only need to have that front porch light on until 11 p.m. or whatever, make sure that we're doing that. And energy efficient light bulbs are great. So LEDs do come in those lighter or those warmer colors, and just making sure that our lights are facing downwards, that there's a shield around them, that they're not pointing up and directing all of that light into the air above. Were there any questions at this point or comments?
You're good to go.
All right, sounds great. So energy reduction and electrification is another big area that that we have been investing our resources and efforts. So one of the things, so we actually this on the left here, this is a sticker that we just provided to anyone really who wanted one throughout the zoo. So office spaces or meeting spaces where we don't already have the motion sensors or occupancy sensors. We made those available. So just to remind people, it's as simple as kind of engaging folks to turn the light off when they're leaving their office for 5 minutes or more. But again, we've also been investing a lot in actual infrastructure. So one of the big areas is lighting. We've gone to LED lighting pretty well across the campus. There's still areas that we need to retrofit and upgrade, but there's a lot of incentives. So for any business owners out there in particular, the Ameren has a lot of great rebates for lighting retrofits. So they'll actually help offset some of that cost that you're incurring to switch those lights to energy efficient lighting. And so we've done that for years. We've just through our Ameren rebates, we've been able to recoup some at this point, it's more than $120,000 in those rebates, and it saves us a lot of energy. So lighting is definitely a very low hanging fruit. We've installed electric vehicle chargers, and we've also been changing our fleet out to so a lot of the vehicles that we use on our campus, like our golf carts and a lot of the vehicles, a lot of the vehicles that we use on campus are electric. We are still, I would say, there's a lot of vehicles that we take off campus. So more of the longer range vehicles that we use for outreach and other things that still do need to be switched over to electric vehicles. But there are some really fantastic incentives now, and especially with the Inflation Reduction Act being passed into law, there are some really great credits now available to people, anyone buying electric vehicles, and as well as there's electric vehicle charging station credits and incentives available. So definitely hoping that we get to install more of those. Right now, the electric vehicle chargers that we have are only on the south parking lot, but hoping we get more installed soon in the north parking lot and additional ones in south. And we do have the low emitting and fuel efficient vehicle signs as well. Ooh, wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ooh, let me try. Sorry about that. Okay. So again, that just really is another incentive to allow our guests and our staff who have low emitting vehicles, so Priuses, and it actually does encompass quite a few vehicles, but just more energy efficient vehicles that they can park closer to the entrance to the zoo, which is always a nice incentive. And we do have some renewable energy on our campus. So our first solar array was installed on you could see it when you're coming across the bridge through the south entrance. That's our 31 kilowatt array on the Safari gift shop. And then we've got the new solar array that is right next to Candy Crossing there. So that's our Williams family solar pavilion. And fun fact, so the core 10 steel that is the canopy structure has like 21 different protozoa and insects and amphibians that are found in our local waters. So you have to take a look at that when you are it's really beautiful, really a beautiful structure, but also serves a good purpose to provide us with renewable energy. And on our website, you can actually see our renewable energy. We track it on a dashboard it collects the information in real time, and it also tallies it up for us. So we see what we've produced over the lifetime. So zoo water use, this is a huge area where we've really made a great strides over the last 15 years in particular. We are a large user of water, as you can imagine. So everything from our animal habitats to our lakes in the center of the zoo, irrigation. There's a lot of things that we utilize water for. And there's been several things that we've focused on to reduce our usage, and that's big piece of that comes down to our life support systems and our life support systems team. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. We've been doing a lot around installing water meters and just basically collecting information about where our water is going once it's on our campus, repairing leaks, adding pervious surfaces. And that really speaks more so to the stormwater management and kind of making sure that we're doing best practices with the water that comes to us from just rain events. And then again, behavior changes, kind of engaging staff, engaging our guests. On the right here, this little sign there, you can see these signs on several of the toilets throughout our campus that have the fixtures that allow, less amount of water if you pull up and more water if you push down. So again, just various changes that have helped us with our water use. So we have a life support systems team, and that team, they oversee all of our larger water using habitats. So our hippo, polar bears, sea lions, penguins, and the list really does go on. Bears, for the most part, we have gone to including life support systems on anywhere where we have any larger amount of water that we're needing to clean regularly. So the life support systems allows the water to be filtered. So it's filtered, allows it to be reclaimed and then recirculated so that we're not adding new water constantly as animals or, just various debris gets into that water. We're able to pull the debris out and then recirculate that water. And for example, with our sea lion sound, When we built the new Sea Lion Sound, it's estimated that it saves us about 11 million gallons per year compared to the old Sea Lion Arena that we replaced. That used to be a dump and fill pool, which means that each week we would dump the entire pool, clean it, and then refill it again. And so life support systems, it's great for both water reduction, but also it just provides a great clean space for animals to live all the time. They're having that water, the best quality water all the time. And so we, in 2013, we purchased like 80 water meters to install throughout our campus. And before that, we really only knew from our water bills that we had 6 meters that came onto our campus. Beyond that, we didn't know. I mean, you intuitively know where your water is going, but we didn't exactly know where water was going and where we were perhaps losing water, or maybe there was a repair that needed to be made. We installed these water meters throughout our campus, at the buildings, at the different habitats and exhibits, so that we can actually track the water use at the point, track the water at the point of use. And that helps us better make decisions, so we can much more quickly identify if there is a leak or there's a problem that needs to be fixed. If there's some kind of anomaly that, we, for some reason, our water use spikes in a particular building, we can look at that and address it quickly and not let it go on for months until we get our next water bill. And with that, we actually tied that into our building automation systems, and we are able to, not every single water meter is tied into the system, but all of our larger water users are tied in. And so that we're able to even pull reports, like if you wanted to see a particular month with a particular building, we can pull that information and then make decisions based off of that. And again, it just really helps us to address problems as they come up, and also track that information over time, so we see how we are improving, or if we are needing to address an issue, we know that. So I did want to throw out here that there's for just what you can do on your for yourself, for your home. So if you're in the Ameren area, and even if you're not, I would assume that most of our utility providers at this point have created platforms or tracking software that you can sign up for. And if you haven't yet, I would highly recommend that you create an online login for your Ameren account. And you can actually put in your phone number, your email. You can log in there. They pretty much update that information daily. So if you wanted to track your energy usage, your electric use, or in some cases, Ameren also does gas, but you can track that usage well before your bill is due. So you can see day to day what your projected bill is going to be for the end of the month. And it shows you exactly, like, this is how much energy you used on any particular day. In here, you can also sign up for their for the peak energy savings program, which allows, and you do have to have a smart meter for that, so I should preface with that. But if you have a smart meter, you can actually sign up, and on those days where it's really hot, typically maybe there's 4 or 5 of those in the summer, Ameren can actually automatically adjust your temperature in your home, so you're using less energy during that peak period where a lot of people are going to be using energy and could lead to brownouts or blackouts. So it helps with that. With irrigation, we've also done a lot around, we've installed water meters on those as well. So we have like 25 meters on our water, on our irrigation systems, but we also have automated controls and rain sensors, so that those irrigation meters aren't just, so those irrigation heads aren't just going, even if it's raining outside. For example, if we have it on a timer, that helps us prevent just unnecessary use of water. And with all of these various things that we've been doing over the years, we've been able to reduce water usage on our campus by 65%. So we started really trending our data and looking at this closely in 2005. This just goes through 2019, this particular graph, but we've continued to go down. We're at about to this year, I think for 2021, we were right around 200 million gallons. So we've reduced a tremendous amount of water. That's over that time frame from 2005 to 2019. It's 2.5 billion gallons saved, and over 10 million combined with looking at both our water and our sewer bills. So it's a really, again, some of this was low hanging fruit that we did that was easy to do, like just turning things off or repairing leaks. Some of it was more infrastructure and more intensive in terms of capital up front, but we've been saving that over time as well. So we, from just engaging our staff, we do a lot around car-free challenges and provide free bike tune-ups for staff throughout the year. With the car-free challenges, we've done where people track their trips into track their trips by either bike or walking, and even taking public transit to come to work. And we've done all kinds of prizes for that, and just participating in the program. And there's regional programs that we've participated in before. There used to be a Shift Your Commute through TrailNet. That got kind of merged with the larger national effort that I'm not thinking of at the top of my head right now, but there is a platform where you could still track your trips into work or other places, your commutes that are not in a single vehicle. We also do a lot around our EcoChallenges and then just volunteering. So we do stream cleanups and litter cleanups in the community and around our campus. There's on the right there we do electronic recycling drives for our staff, and we've opened it up to the larger Zoo Museum District staff, so people can come and drop off their e-waste that is then properly recycled. And then we've been participating in the St. Louis Green Business Challenge since almost when it started. So the St. Louis Green Business Challenge is a great organization that is really helpful with kind of getting businesses, organizations, schools, and even cities. There's a city track as well to getting started with various sustainability initiatives. It's there's a point, kind of like a scorecard with points for various initiatives that you can start with, but then there's also innovation tracks, and we've been participating in it for years because we really do find a lot of value in it, and it's a great community building with other organizations that are working on similar initiatives. And of course, I have to mention there's a lot of people that at the zoo that are part of this. So we have a green team, and we have a climate change committee. I should have changed that to committee at this point. And then a palm oil task force as well. And these are voluntary groups of staff from throughout our organization, staff and volunteers who help work on various initiatives and plan events and things like that. So we'll be talking a little bit about the Climate Solutions Day. That's a big effort by the Climate Change Committee. And Lisa and Frank have been our fearless leaders for the last few years. But it really does take a village to make all of this happen. And then our our Buy to Bags program, which was started by our Zoo Alive teen volunteers, is a great initiative, a pledge that encourages anyone, guests, our staff, and well beyond, to switch to reusable bags. So as part of the pledge, if you take the pledge on grounds, we will have our Buy to Bags team at the Climate Solutions Day this Sunday. When you take the pledge, you get a reusable bag. And really, again, it's just a great initiative that was started by the teens to encourage sustainable behaviors by everyone. And we are, one of the things that we've done a lot with to advance our own goals and our own sustainability efforts at the zoo is to partner with various organizations here locally. I've already mentioned the St. Louis Green Business Challenge, but that's been a really great partner for us. Biodiverse City STL and One STL. Those are organizations as well that are helping connect across the region. So One STL in particular connects beyond St. Louis. So it really is looking at both sides of the river, Illinois, cities in Illinois, cities in on the Missouri side of the river, on a plan to advance sustainability throughout our region. And there's a lot of working groups that are involved in that. Some of them focus on waste reduction, some of them focus on energy and water, but we've been involved with that. And then the Midwest Climate Collaborative is a new collaborative that was formed this year in January is when it launched. And that is Washington University. It's housed at Washington University, but it really spans not just in the region in St. Louis, but the Midwest region, which is the 12 states that make up the Midwest. And St. Louis Zoo, along with several other of our Zoo Museum District partners and others, have signed on as members of that. And so there's a lot of really exciting things that are coming out of that group. So definitely keep an eye out on that. But that's really a way for us to leverage climate action and climate solutions as a broader region, not just regional, but multi-state solution in the Midwest. Lights Out Heartland, I maybe did forget to mention that when we were talking about the light pollution slides, but we are a partner with Lights Out Heartland. That is a group that is specifically, it's the Audubon Society and also the International Dark Sky Alliance that are part of that. And it's an organization that helps encourage, again, what we talked about with the reducing light pollution throughout our region. Focusing on the heartland, there's other initiatives in the country that focus on it as well, but Lights Out Heartland is our local one, and we are a partner of that. So we talk about the issues with our guests and others, and we've also signed on as a campus so that we are doing those best practices for our own campus. And then we've had climate change solutions. We've got this webinar as well as the 3 that preceded it this week as part of Climate Solutions Week. We've had a position statement on climate change since 2011. And that was something that a lot of organizations at that point didn't necessarily have as an organizational stance. And from that, again, we've created our climate communications committee. We have a lot more of a focus around that. And Climate Solutions Day, which is coming up September 25th at the zoo. This is our 4th one. And so we hope you can join us there. And yeah, we're excited to see you. And then I think I'm one slide away from being done here, but one of the really important things, and largely what we've been focusing on with our climate solutions and our training of our staff, of our staff, as well as others who have actually come to our trainings from the community, is how to talk about climate change in a way that is hopeful, and that also creates this hopeful vision for the future, and meets people where they are. So being really being mindful of how you talk about climate change with different audiences, but also, and it goes beyond just talking about climate change, but thinking about what your sphere of influence is and where you can advance sustainability. So whether that's at your home or that's at your workplace, if you're in school, are there things you can do to help those organizations, businesses, in advancing what they're doing? So thinking about how we can all work on these solutions together. And again, St. Louis Green Business Challenge is just a really great way, particularly for anyone who is joining from a business. If you would like to see your organization just kind of get a starting hand, highly recommend that initiative. And I think we do have time for some questions or some conversation if there's anything that's been coming up.
Yes, we did have one come up when you were talking about our electric chargers and low emissions vehicles. Are we concerned about the lithium battery situation with those with electric vehicles and the dual hybrid and stuff?
Well, and I will say I'm not an expert in lithium ion batteries, and so I'm not a total expert. However, the overall consensus is that going to electric vehicles is better for climate change than combustion engines. I can imagine that there are going to be potential for extraction issues and things like that can be problematic, but from reading, even like the Inflation Reduction Act, I mean, that's why they're including those electric vehicles as part of the solution overall. Are they perfect? I think that's where, there's definitely some negative externalities from potential mining operations and things like that. So I see the concern. I would say that I would need to do more research about, what exactly would be the biggest fallout there. I just think from the general consensus from the sustainability community is that this is the better way to go.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. And that's kind of like the positives, like you said, right now it's looking like positives and the more immediate need of reducing our emissions is kind of the priority right now. Yeah.
And maybe in the future there is something that replaces that, like a hydrogen, vehicle fuel, or I know that there's people working on even more efficient and less damaging in terms of the mining operations. But at this point in time, the next best step is electric vehicles and electrification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did have another question about going back to the bird safe windows. Does the zoo have any like bird decals or anything for the windows that they sell in the gift shops or make available?
I've seen in the past, and that is such a great question, because I wanted actually want to look into this tomorrow before Climate Solutions Day. We've had the tape. So there's a tape that you can purchase that is kind of opaque a little bit, and it's got the UV visibility in it that we have in the past sold in our gift shops. I can say if you're just looking, for example, you have some problem windows in your home, if you go on the American Bird Conservancy website, they have a bunch of information and various solutions that you can actually purchase. And it's the nice thing, if you go through their website, is they rate it based on, how well it has performed if they've tested it. So AmericanBirdConservancy.org, and bird safe glass solutions in a Google search will definitely pull some of that information. But I would say anything that's been tested by the Bird Conservancy is American Bird Conservancy is, the go-to. They're the go-tos.
All right, we have one more question. Does the zoo, and I feel like this has come up before, this is ringing all sorts of bells, but does the zoo offer sustainability group tours as a way?
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do actually. So we have through our tours team, and on our website, even, I think if you go to tours on the St. Louis Zoo website, if you go to tours, you'll find information there on various behind the scenes tours and things like that. And there's also a track called the Geek Tours. And that's, I know so I've done some tours for sustainability. There's also life support systems, geek tours, which are really fabulous, and really interesting. You do learn a lot more of the details of how those water reclamation and filtration systems work. And then I think another one is kind of about business operations and just how, probably more so geared towards business owners or people interested in how we do our operations, kind of more generally. So those are more kind of targeted tours that we do. But yes, so short answer is yes.
All right. Well, we are just about at 6:30. Pat also wanted to throw in that she did a life support system tour on Tuesday, and people come from all over to see
Oh,
those.
fabulous.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's impressive.
That team is really great, and they are so knowledgeable, and it's cool to see kind of the underbelly of how the things work, right?
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wanda. That was always enlightening and always so fascinating to know so much about your work. And I always sometimes when I work with you and we're doing stuff, and I'm just like, how does Wanda have time to do any? Like you do so much, and we're so appreciative.
Well, it's not just me. I'm reporting here for all these other people that aren't here, but yes, there's a lot going on. But yeah, tons of people also doing it.
So we appreciate you taking the time to chat with us tonight, and thank you all so much for joining us. If you are local, since tonight is our final presentation for Climate Solutions Week, if you're local, please do join us for our culminating in-person Climate Solutions Day celebration at the zoo this coming Sunday, September 25th from 10 to 3. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.